We are. Thank you, Andy. If you've set a financial resolution and want tips on how to stick to it, Alyssa Fischer is a personal finance blogger from mixedupmoney.com, and here with some tips this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
A lot of people want to get their money in shape in the new year, but run up against these roadblocks. So why do you think people typically fail in this resolution?
I think a lot of people fail because they don't actually set a realistic budget. So they create a budget. It's great. That's the first step for sure. But then essentially they try and cut things out that they really can't, or they restrict themselves from spending money that they shouldn't. I don't know about you, but when I spend money, or when I tell myself not to spend money, I want to spend it more. So
totally.
Just
it's like
finding
thinking,
a balance.
don't eat that piece of cake. All you're thinking about is eating that piece of cake.
Exactly. Another financial resolution.
Right.
And then another one is actually creating an attainable goal. So making sure that you actually say, I'm going to complete paying off my debt by July 23rd, 2017, and sticking to it and giving yourself a timeline to check in on that.
Right.
So
those small increments.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because if you just say, in 2016, I'm going to pay off my debt, well,
how
much are you going to pay off? What's the timeline? Is it attainable? Those are things you need to think about.
Okay, so when it comes to setting a realistic budget and you are cutting out those sort of fringe benefits, you know, there has to be an aspect of that, right? You must have to dial back on some things. So let's say I'm having, you know, extravagant coffees or something every day. Instead of eliminating that entirely, what would you suggest?
I would just suggest actually buying coffee and making it at home. I'm personally not a coffee person, which is insane, I guess, but I think just finding a different way to save money. So instead of going to Starbucks, even if you just go to Tim Hortons instead, that's a couple bucks you can save right there.
Right, creating some alternatives.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think, is not to look next door, right? So people can compare themselves to their peer group.
Yeah, it's kind of like a keeping up with the Joneses in reverse. So you might hear that your friend paid off $20,000 worth of debt last year by doing this, but everyone's money situation is different. So what worked for them isn't necessarily going to work for you. And looking back at your past financial statements, money doesn't lie. So I would suggest going to a free credit counseling company or someone who has a not-for-profit. It's an unbiased opinion that can tell you where to start, what to do, and then go from there.
Right, so you don't have to be overwhelmed with becoming a financial wizard as well as setting those goals.
Yeah, because it's scary.
Okay. Now, what is one thing, if people think, I want to do this, get this on track today, what do you think is one thing people should start thinking about?
I think people need to seriously sit down and look at what they've spent. So over the past 3 months, how much have you spent? Are you living within your means? So have you been spending $200 over budget every month? Because that's going to make a big difference. So just finding out what you're overspending, if you are, and then dialing it back, like you said.
Yeah, and there can be an aspect of fear too, don't you think, when it comes to digging into your own finances?
It's terrifying. I've done it myself, and it is really hard. But at the same time, I think we need to make money easier to talk about instead of such a taboo subject.
Right, okay. So be honest with yourself, dig in and find those things where you might be overspending, and then you could get your finances on track. And tell us a little bit about your blog. Where can people find you?
You can find me at mixedupmoney.com. I blog about just personal debts that I've had and overcoming those struggles myself. So it's a little bit easier to talk to me maybe if you want to send me a note. Absolutely. I love to talk about it and help people. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No,
and great tips there on your website. We're going to put links up on ours, breakfasttelevision.ca. And Happy New Year to you
Happy New Year
as
to you
well. And may you achieve your own financial goals.